let me say, if I don't cry, I get 100 pounds. Let me see. Me not gonna promise you, but me I gonna try. Okay. And a step let me come from, a cotton tree. These words constantly echoed off every wall of her house as she beamed with pride when she spoke of the small community she hailed from. On March 1st, 1962, a star in the form of a baby girl was born to Hyacinth Mears and David Houston. They called her Jacinth Patricia Houston and affectionately called her Pat. She grew up with her younger siblings, Gillette, Marlene, Fitzroy, Everton, and Courtney, who passed recently. They all stayed at Mas Cuby's place in Cottontree. Her two older siblings, Georgie and Pansy, had left the nest previously. Her paternal siblings were living in a different abode. She and her family stayed a few years in Cottontree, and when she was about 8 years old, they moved to Stettin, where she lived for the remainder of her life, except for 1 year. In her younger years, one would describe Miss Pat as a hardcore tomboy who approached any male-dominated task undaunted. Miss Pat enjoyed all the adventures of her childhood, running around with her siblings and cousins, Paulette and Bear, just to name a few. She often ran to her grandmother, Miss Ivy, who would always rescue her from some of the terrible beatings she would have received from her mother because she used to give a lot of trouble and she was very feisty. She never feared climbing trees, throwing stones, or getting into physical fights. She was daring and free-spirited. Her free-spirited nature sadly landed her in a coma for months as she fell from a plum tree in Cottontree, which resulted in her receiving several fractured bones. Miss Pat attended Miss Maggie's basic school, then went to the Alberton Primary School. She later on studied at the Alberton High School. Unfortunately, she did not get the opportunity to complete high school because she had met Ainsworth Gay Sr. and then became pregnant. She gave birth to a baby boy who did not make it. But quickly after that, she had her first daughter, Tamar, her carbon copy. Then, tragedy struck. As a result of an accident, her mom passed. One could imagine that things got difficult for her and her siblings. They struggled. A year and a few months after having Tamar, she then gave birth to another baby girl, Samudha, who was premature and very sickly. The family struggled even more. Throughout all the adversities faced, Miss Pat and her sister Gillette clung together. They created an unmatched bond. They were inseparable. They laughed together, cried together, fought together, bore hunger together, and sometimes they even argued with each other. The sisters became a force to reckon with, and for that reason, Miss Pat did not hesitate when Juliet came from Vineyard Town and suggested that she should join her in Kingston to work. She left the girls with their grandmother and ventured into the unknown. When she reached Kingston, she worked with a Chinese family in Beverly Hills, whom she said treated her well. Her earnings were solely for her siblings and her two girls. Within a year of working in Kingston, Ainsworth had visited, and after much persuasion, plus the conception of her third baby girl, Megan, she decided to return to Stettin. She gave birth to Megan, and again, 2 years later, she gave birth to another baby boy, Ainsworth Jr. By the age of 22, Miss Pat had a solid 4-member army of children. Unfortunately, when she thought life couldn't get any worse, another tragedy occurred. Ainsworth Sr. had lost his life, and she was left as the surviving parent for her 4 children. Miss Pat was always a hustler, but during that time, she had to go harder. Thanks to the children's grandmother, Mrs. Taylor, who welcomed the kids under her roof. This allowed Miss Pat to go to the many markets in Jamaica just to earn something for the kids. During that period, she met Clifton Johnson, Bike, and 4 years later gave birth to his first son, Gibbon. Though coming from a PNP background, She often told the story. Miss Pat chose to proudly support and celebrate the Jamaica Labour Party. Her loyalty to the party did not go unnoticed. She was gifted a house by the then Member of Parliament, and she also started working as a postal agent at said location. She was a postal agent on weekdays and a higgler on weekends. Within that period, she got married to Clifton, and they had 3 more children, 2 boys, Giovanni and Donahue, and her last daughter, Kijani. By the age of 32, Miss Pat completed her 8-member army of children, 4 boys and 4 girls. In 1994, her husband migrated, and Miss Pat continued hustling around Jamaica. She sold clothes in places like Pendang, Mandeville, and Savlamar. She would fly out to Panama to get goods for sale. When she came home, Tamar and Gibbon would sometimes join her on her many escapades. Some of this included running from the police too. She also sold yams at the Coronation Market. On Friday nights, she and her cousin would jump on Ma Civis's truck, and later on Mr. Rose's truck, and then go straight to the Coronation Market. They would return late Saturday nights or early Sunday mornings. Miss Pat loved going to dances in her younger years. She also had a knack for fashion. So she and her friends would visit Miss Cherry to make the best suit so they could go party. Though she never gave up politics, she eventually gave up going to dances because she found the church. In the past, she intermittently attended the St. Andrew's Anglican Church. However, this time she fully immersed herself in the Stettin New Testament Church of God. She was passionate about this church. She was proud of the many responsibilities she took on over the years. Her role behind building the church wall, her role behind the building of this church wall and the extension of the church was quite integral. Several times she would even get into a verbal tussle with anyone she thought disrespected the church grounds. She was a driving force behind events like prayer breakfast, harvest dinner, and any other catering events. She took joy in offering money at rallies. She was very competitive and would always want to offer the most money. Where she got it from, one might ask. She would have told them, "Me plan me bank over England and America." When Meda and her 3rd child migrated to England, Miss Pat eventually stopped going to the market. However, she never stopped trying her hands at different projects. She had a chicken and chips restaurant. She raised chicken and pigs. In addition to that, she sold clothes at home. Miss Pat was a caring individual. For this reason, it wasn't surprising when she welcomed her brother's children, Cherise, Shanique, and Sheldon, into her home and treated them as her very own. She was also a confidant to her nieces and nephews. Orinthia, for example, was no longer our cousin, but one of our sisters, because of the close-knitted bond she had with her. Though wholeheartedly she believed she had a baker's at the age of 40, she was blessed with her first grandchild. Though wholeheartedly she believed she had a baker's dozen, 13, officially these are her 12 grandchildren: Leanne, Hugh J, Jessie, Reese, Aiden, Million, Jaden, Amaris, Trinity, Nile, Zori, and her baby Summer. 6 granddaughters and 6 grandsons. Miss Pat became a softer version of herself when it came to her grandchildren. She would often challenge her children's parenting skills or sneak money here and there to her grandkids. Sometimes you could hear her say, "Boy, one of the kids' birthday coming up, may I go put down something for them?" Don't cry. Miss Pat was a firm believer that education is the key to success and that education will take you out of poverty. She stood by her beliefs and decided to go back to school. She attended evening classes at the Albertown High School, got her CSEC subjects, and then matriculated into Teachers College. After completing college, she was officially diagnosed with breast cancer. And unfortunately, didn't get a chance to go in the classroom. She was a teacher nonetheless. Miss Pat would always have a word of encouragement for those who sought to receive. Miss Pat's strength knew no bounds. After her diagnosis, she underwent all the necessary treatments: chemotherapy, radiotherapy, mastectomy, and the cancer fortunately went into remission. She continued to live her life as usual. She stayed committed to her church, continued to enjoy her political affairs, and provided moral support for not only her kids, but for anyone she could. She started the housing project, which propelled her to getting the mayor's award. She reopened her shop and had her chickens and pigs. She also went and completed Bible school. Miss Pat was enjoying life. Then things went on a different trajectory in 2021. She had a major health scare in 2021 and was admitted in the hospital. After some tests were done, it was discovered that the cancer had returned. Despite the news, she fought.
You got this. You got this, mama. You got this, mama. $100. You have it. You have it. You have it. You have it, baby. You have it.
Despite the news, she fought. Miss Pat fought with all the strength she could muster. She started to decline physically, but her voice still had that power. Even after the doctors gave her a date, she defied all odds. But she knew the day would come soon. So while she fought, she prepared. In January, she acknowledged that it would be a sad day, but urged us to understand that it's not a pity party, it's a homecoming. On February 24th, 2025, Jacinth Patricia Johnson transitioned.
You got it, mama. Come on, girl. You have it, baby. You have it. You have it.
This chapter has ended, but the story continues. Go on home, Mom. You have passed the baton. You have had a life well lived and a love well shared. Thank you.